One time I was at the science center on a field trip, and we were walking in a line, as one does, when another group from a different school walked by in the same hallway. Among these children one was a young boy, and I shit you not, his entire face was covered in acne. There was not a single spot on this young man's face that didn't have a boil on it. It wasn't pizza face, it was like a proper disfigurement. His face was all bubbly. I had never seen this before, let alone prepared for it, so I was shocked. Taken aback. This guttural reaction was so powerful that I cringed immensely fucking hard at his tiny pimply face. In that moment, in that brief half-second interaction, I saw that face shatter into despair. Shame. And then he was gone. I never saw him again. I still think about it sometimes and feel really fucking bad about it. A guy overdosed in our apartment when I was 9. I was used to seeing it because my addict mom had addict friends who just kinda hung around. I remember watching him. I don't even know what his name was since I was never introduced to anyone, but he seemed really out there on the oxycodone, and was snoring weird. I told my mom, but she said not to call 911 because the cops would come. So I just sat there with my stuffed bunny, and watched him sleep, and then he got quiet. He died on our couch, and I was too afraid of my mom to call anyone. I could have saved him maybe. He couldn't have been older than 35. Mom cleaned all the drugs out of the apartment, and called 911 later. She made up a story about him being an ex who showed up on drugs, and was going to sleep it off on our couch. They looked around, took the body, and left. I still think about him sometimes and wonder if he had anyone in his life that would have wanted to be with him. Sitting on a dirty couch surrounded by random people, with some kid staring at you is a sad way to die to me. Things I did while working as an ICU nurse. Many patients or families would want everything done, and so that is what we did, but sometimes, these things felt morally wrong. The treatments could be painful or uncomfortable, and the patients often passed away despite our best efforts. Instead of passing away peacefully surrounded by family, they passed away in ICU rooms filled with strangers, and noisy equipment, with tubes coming out of every possible hole in their bodies. Sometimes, they were intubated and sedated and never got to say goodbye to loved ones. God forgive me. How little I see my mother and grandmother work across the world, and how time's flying by. They look older every time I see them now, which is every 3 months pre-corona. When I first moved out, it wasn't like that. It's like grandma hit 88, mom hit 60 and then their aging accelerated. They're not meant to grow old, only I am. The worst thing I did in my life was viewed as a kindness by the people I did it to. I was a teenager, and after breaking up with my boyfriend I quickly met another guy. We did some physical things, not sex, though he tried to pressure me, but then I started to realize that he wasn't a good guy. It made me appreciate my ex and I wanted to get back with him, but I knew this other guy would keep sniffing around me unless something distracted him. I introduced him to my friend, who was about to turn 18, and was desperate to lose her virginity. I knew he'd be happy to oblige, and he would leave me alone, because he'd be getting some. They both were happy to be introduced, both got something they wanted, but I still feel guilty, because I know I had a selfish motive. I sold my friend out to a slimy guy to get out of a problem I caused for myself. In the 5th grade, a couple of us hooligans snuck back into school during recess, and took most of our teacher's candy collection, that she would use as rewards or prizes. When she found out someone stole her candy, she started bawling her eyes out about how that candy comes out of her pocket, and can't believe students would take advantage of her kindness. I felt so fucking bad and always hoped we didn't hurt her willingness to go above and beyond for her students. I'm sorry, MS. Johnson, sad face. The fact that time is not as abundant as it feels like. I don't think I'm ever going to be happy anymore. I feel so far gone with my problems. I don't think I'll ever feel like the innocent child I once was. I might make improvements and get better over time. But I feel like the water is already murky, and I'm chained to my past. I suppose I could be more specific. But it's just too depressing to even talk about. I don't spend enough time with my parents. The way we treated our great-grandmother, who was a saint. I loved her dearly but made fun of her. That woman worked her ass off and never complained. I never heard her say a bad word against anyone, yet I know I hurt her feelings. Instead of being a jerk to her, I should have striven to be more like her. Asterisk edited for shitty grammar. Survivor's guilt. It always feels like there was something I should have done, or like I should have died instead of one of them. That they didn't deserve it, but I deserved to die, and that I would trade places in an instant. I know I couldn't have done anything. I know I can't trade places no matter how badly I want to. Terrorism doesn't really ask for your opinions. For me, it's none of my life's great wrongs. The big mistakes I made in life were ones made honestly, in shit circumstances where there probably was no right answer. They were costly. I'll probably always pay for them. But I'm at peace with that. The ones that get me are the stupid little ones. I didn't stop and give that girl an umbrella when she was standing in the rain. I didn't even think of it until it was too late. Stuff like that. I don't blame people for screwing up the big things in life. They're called the big things because they are bigger than you, and it's real easy to get run over by them. It's these little things, where we legitimately should have known better, where it would have been easy to do the right thing. That shit is what I'm afraid of. You know. If someone's waiting to judge us when we die. What the fuck is that snake award? Part of me believes I was responsible for my grandma passing away. I was only 8 at the time. I had never experienced anyone dying before, so I didn't even know what was going on with her. All I knew was that everyone went every day to see her at the nursing home, and people were sad. I always wanted to go because I loved seeing her and hearing her stories. During one of the visits, I remember feeling super warm and having a horrible stomach ache. When I got home, I threw up for hours and found out I had a very high fever. The next morning, my grandma passed away. My aunt found out I was sick the night before she passed and immediately blamed her death on me. She said Grandma probably caught my sickness, and it was too much for her body to handle, so she passed. I know it's not true, but there's still the guilt I feel for visiting her when I was sick. I don't think I'm ever going to lose that guilt. I am terrified of what my future looks like. I'm a cook. I have no drive, almost no motivation. I can't keep doing this when I'm 40, or 50, or even 60. I have no idea what I want to do with my life. How am I going to take care of myself in the future? The worst thing as a child was when you realized that one day you would die, and if the afterlife isn't real, you will cease to exist. Now, I can't figure out if it would be worse to die and just nothing? Or the afterlife does exist and just goes on forever and ever. The endlessness is terrifying if you start thinking about it too much. The fact that I am literally a complete nobody, who has accomplished nothing at 36. The fear of my father dying. I rely on him so much. When I was younger, I found a baby bunny in our garden. I told my mom, and she told me to leave the bunny alone. Still, I'd move a leaf or two to give it shade if the sun is shining right on it. I'd constantly check on, 'cause it looked so cute. But one day, it stopped moving. I called my mom, and she looks at me really sad and tells me it died. Honestly, a part of me died that day. Like it's been years, but I just can't get over it. Why did such an innocent creature have to die? If God really is fair, why wasn't he fair to that bunny? I come from a religious Hindu family. But more importantly, why couldn't I save it? If I checked more often, maybe I would have seen something that could have saved it. I know I couldn't have done anything, but it still hurts, man. I went 2 years not talking to my father when I was 13 after finding out that he had cheated on my mother, and that was what had subsequently caused their divorce when I was 3. I had a half-brothers who were 3 and 2. I will never forgive myself for missing out on those years with them, nor will I ever forgive myself for shutting out my father so long. I had so much hatred and anger towards him in my heart for doing that to my mother, who, God bless, is one of the best people I know, but after years of therapy do I realize that it was good that they divorced. While the mental effects/abandonment issues that stemmed from the divorce sucked, I would have been so much more messed up in the long run had I not ended up having healthy relationship examples in my life.